morning, guys. Okay, today we're going to do a real quick spring video discussion about resources. Now, as you recall, I did one last fall talking about get out there and go be gathering your tinder now, because that's when everything was dry and all the seed tops and the flower tops and all that stuff, that dry like tinder that the winds had come in, it'd turned cold and it dried them out to bone dry. That was time to go gather them. And so I went and gathered up several bags of stuff. But now it's springtime, or starting to be spring. So what resources are you looking for? Well, this is the time if you're wanting to research edibles. Now's the time to start looking, because spring and summer are the best times for wild edibles. And that's when you want to start looking for them. Now, pine. Right now, the pine needle tea is particularly better because the pines are waking back up. They're putting the stuff out there, and you get the new needles, not the old needles, but the new needles down at the beginning of it. Now, this is a beginning of this is a pollen cone right there. Down here in the south, everything was yellow with pine pollen the last 2 weeks down here. And so it's a big indicator of things coming in. Now's the time to start looking for your dandelion, for your wood sorrel, for your greenbrier and things like that are edibles that you want to go out and get and try and do stuff like that. Do your own research. Now, why doesn't Blackie do a wild edibles video? Because it is just too risky, guys. I know what I'm looking at because I've done the research. But if I take up some sort of plant and show it to you, even though I tell you 40 times and 40 ways to look at it, somebody is going to make a mistake, and that's just too big a risk. You've got to do your own research. And so, like, my personal learning of wild edibles, my number one rule was I do not want to know any wild edible that has or medicinal that has a poisonous look-alike. Period. I don't care if this is the greatest whatever. Can it sometimes be mistaken for this, which will kill you? Then it's off the list. I don't do any mushrooms or anything like that for that very reason. I'm just not that versed in it, and I haven't invested the time in it to learn. But right now is the time when all the new shoots are coming up. They taste the best, and etc. If you want to gather and do that, that's the time to do it. Your saps are running, so gathering to make maple syrup, you can do that, or birch sap. A lot of people love to use that. It's kind of got a sweet, and so making pine needle tea with some birch sap in it, river birch sap, which is sweet, actually kind of makes a little like sweet tea. Cleavers are out right now, and you can always tell them because they're square stem, and those are a boilable pot herb, and there's quite a few things you can go and gather if you take the time and do the research. But this is the time to focus on it in the spring. It's everywhere. Of course, it goes without saying, make sure you're not someplace where somebody is spraying pesticides or anything like that. That would be very bad. So avoid that. It's got to be someplace where nothing's been poisoned, you know. So getting it out of your yard, as long as it's your yard and nothing's been put on the yard, oh yeah, that's great. But if you got that company that comes out and sprays stuff out to grow your lawn, no, that's a no-no. So the thing to do is do your research. But how about your tinder? Now, you gathered up tinder last fall. We're too early yet to gather. There is plenty of fat lighter or pitch pine available, but the best time to gather that is actually in the heat of summer, because that's when the sap's running the most and it's the most intense then to gather. So we're a little early for that. But paper birch, now it's time to go peel some of that off to put into tinders. Look for your bone dry punky wood to make char tinder out of. And that'd be a real good time after the winter cold and everything and has kind of desiccated it a lot more before the spring and summer rains get here and make it soppy wet and it all falls apart. It's also a good indicator when you're looking for like where animals are tunneling in looking for insects and stuff like that, grubs. Good time to practice looking for fish bait and stuff like that. Even if you're not a fisherman, everybody should have a basic fishing skill, because it's one of the best ways there is to feed yourself in the wild without hunting or anything else. It's easy to sneak up on a bass or a catfish or a brim. A little harder on a deer or a turkey. And so, as my granddaddy taught me, to learn how to feed yourself on a creek bank, then you can augment it with the other stuff. But looking for fish bait. Where do you look for fish bait? Dead trees, rotten logs. Get you a container to catch stuff in and start peeling up the bark. Underneath those barks and underneath the logs, you're going to find all kinds of grubs and bugs and stuff like that, worms and etc. A rotting log is just a colony of fish bait. Now remember this, if it's black, it's bitter, nothing eats it. So a black roach, a black cricket, they got too much tannin in them and made them black, and it makes them bitter, and the fish don't want to eat it. So they know the color black is bitter and they don't want to eat it, as far as the bug. So avoid that. Other than that, it's the time of the year to get out there and practice this. Also, it's a good time to practice land navigation, because the trees have not completely filled up the woods yet, and you can see a little bit. And it's not so oppressive heat, so it's a good time to practice the land navigation right now, because it's still kind of open, but the days have warmed up a little. So that's my little 2 cents. I hope you enjoyed this, guys. The whole thing is, it's spring. Now's the time to mentally shift our focus into the resources that are available in the spring, the wild edibles. They're going and looking for pitch pine, because the ground's more open, you can see the stumps easier to go gather from. If you want to make some pine needle tea or something, now's the time to gather. If you're wanting to do some sort of gathering vines and stuff like that to make the hoops and stuff for dream catchers, my wife loves doing that. Now's the time to do it. As soon as the sap comes up and they get flexible, you've got nice green new growth that you can spiral up real easy and make those hoops, that's the time to do it. It's a good time to make baskets, because with those type of things. We used to make kudzu baskets down here in the South. In the last, say, 25 years, I've seen a couple of those. Kudzu didn't come in until the 1930s in the South, so it's not an ancient skill. But the idea of gathering vines and twisting them into baskets for use in farming and agricultural, that was. And I can remember feed troughs for poor people around their cattle and stuff, where they would just take and drive into the ground sticks and then weave vines between it to form like a basket. And then they would dump the feed in it to be the feed thing for the cow or the horse, whatever, stick his nose down into and eat. And so that was just one of those skills. Hope you've enjoyed it, guys. If you have, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. I'm out taking a walk with my blackbird, getting a little bit more into it. I just shot a video that you saw yesterday on the advanced woodscraft, and decided to just do a little woods walk and do some looking. I am going to be at my event starting yesterday, and I will be back on Sunday. So if I don't comment or something on any of my videos, that's why. And there will be no live tonight, because I'll be in the woods. Hope you've enjoyed it, guys. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe before you go. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.